time, we will move to our Student Affairs Committee. Okay. Does anybody, you need to take a roll? No, okay, everybody's here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved. Second.
Any correction or modification? Hearing none, somebody in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? Okay. We're going to be very, very, very brief. We have two notices of intent to pass regulations that need to be voted on. One of the first deals with vaccinations against meningococcal meningitis and hepatitis B, and the second has to do with how to treat acceleration mechanisms, dual enrollment, and AP courses. And I would like Dottie to speak through the summary of those two very quickly.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You will remember that subsequent to the meningitis incident at the University of South Florida, that your committee requested that members of the Florida College Health Association, which is made up of our directors of our student health centers, to come back with a recommendation for this committee regarding a regulation associated with vaccination for meningococcal meningitis. Subsequent to that meeting, members of our Health Center Directors Group did meet with representatives from the Florida Department of Health as well as from the Centers for Disease Control to look at the data to determine which students were most at risk on our campuses. Fortunately, in one case, we actually ran into the situation in which this is such a low incidence disease that we had insufficient data to be able to make some of the recommendations that were first proposed for consideration by members of the Health Center Directors. Therefore, after looking at the data they did have, they came forward with this recommendation to propose a regulation for noticing to include a requirement that each institution provide detailed information both about meningococcal meningitis and hepatitis B to all students on their campuses, including the risks associated with each one, and then beginning next summer that they provide the opportunity for every new matriculating student to either provide evidence that they have already received the vaccinations for these two diseases, or that they consciously wait out of getting those vaccinations with a clear understanding of the risks associated with not going ahead with it.
Do I have a motion to
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Does anybody have any questions, discussion? Are you saying you want to say something? Oh, okay. No, hearing none, there's a motion and a second. So many in favor of the adoption, say aye. Opposed? Okay, the notice is adopted. The next one has to do with how universities might treat dual enrollment and AP courses in calculating grade point averages. Is that the point?
There is a series of items in this particular regulation. As you all know, this committee has been focusing for some time on providing students studying ways to improve student readiness, access, and success in the state university system. You'll remember that at your last meeting, the board endorsed the Go Higher Florida recommendations, which focused on increasing the rigor of secondary instruction and strengthening the links and the alignment between secondary and post-secondary sectors. One zone of activity for this committee has been the approval of a series of recommendations associated with articulation. And today we're bringing forth this one on acceleration mechanisms. Now, the acceleration mechanisms have actually been used pretty widely in Florida since the 1970s. These mechanisms support the state articulation agreement and the 2+2 articulation policies designed to ease the transition for students from one sector to another. The acceleration mechanisms include early college dual enrollment, which is the enrollment of a high school student in college courses while still enrolled in high school, as well as the full-time dual enrollment, which is known as early admission, as well as examination through a series of examinations, including the ones that you approve on a regular basis relative to which coursework students will receive credit for based on their performance on those examinations. The other item that is in the regulation has to do with the weighting of dual enrollment for admission purposes. The recommendation is coming forward that the weighting for the dual enrollment courses be the same as the weighting used for advanced placement, international baccalaureate, and advanced international certificate of education.
All right, is there a motion and a second for adoption?
Move. Second.
All right, now, do we have discussion?
I'm not in favor of this regulation. I don't think that dual enrollment, and most of my fellow faculty, Senate presidents don't believe that dual enrollment should count the same as advanced placement credit. Advanced placement credit is standardized curriculum. You take standardized tests. There may be issues on the high school level, but at least the universities know what it is that they're getting. In terms of dual enrollment, you don't really control content. You don't control evaluation. In some cases, if they're not taken at a university, and I really think it should be the prerogative of the universities to decide the weighting. I don't think it should be placed in regulation. Thank you.
Dr. Monier, this doesn't mandate that the universities weight these things in a particular way, does it? I mean, if they weight one, they should weight them all.
Yes, ma'am. The situation is that the universities still have the authority to determine what weight will actually be applied, if any at all. And they also have the authority to determine which other array of indicators they will use in making any admission decision.
Any other discussion? So many in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed?
No.
Sounds to me like it passed.
Yeah, but I couldn't say aye. I actually never said aye.
Oh, you did. Maybe we should call the roll. I don't think anybody knows who's on the committee and who's not. One is missing. Two are missing.
Okay, Dr. Chase?
No.
Dr. Marshall is not here. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Mosley?
It's not here.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Harris?
Let's see.
Ms. Perez?
Mr. Perez, how do you vote?
This is not Illinois. I apologize, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right.
That's a great one.
All right, keep going. Let's just see if we have the four.
It passes.
Not here.
And Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Your motion passes.
Okay. All right, that's really all that we had on our agenda. Is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up? I'll just say that Governor Marshall was to have had the subcommittee on mental health issues that was related to our overall security discussion. He was going to have that report to be made to this committee today. And of course, he's not able to have been here today, so we will take that up at the next meeting. Okay, hearing nothing, committee's adjourned.